Hello and welcome to the Enlightened Society Conversations. Today I have with me author, entrepreneur, and businessman, Mr. Terrence Leftridge. Mr. Leftridge, thank you so much for joining me today.
Hey, thank you so much, Q, for letting me be on the show.
Of course, yes, sir. And I actually just wanted to ask you, just to start off as the first question, if someone were to look at your journey, what would you say that they would say was your handicap?
So, what I would say that my handicap has been is that I have had a problem trying to get out of my own way, Q.
Okay.
And you know, many of us in our journey through lives probably have come across that time where we just couldn't get out of our own way. And that's kept us stuck in our situation instead of being unstoppable. You know, there was a time in my life where I was just stuck in so many different places. I was stuck in my finances. I was stuck in my relationships. I was stuck in my career and where I wanted to go.
Sure.
And if I look back over my life and all the things I've been through, I realize that I was the common denominator in all those things.
Wow.
I was what was stopping me from living the unstoppable life, which is what I talk about each and every day now. You know, I didn't know what my purpose was. I didn't know who I was supposed to be. You see, Q, I came from a family of individuals. I lived in a household that was full of women, except for me and my two brothers. I had my sister, I had my mother, I had my grandmother, I had my great-grandmother, and I had my aunt. Those were all in one household.
Wow.
We lived in a two-flat on the south side of Chicago. And so that's how I was raised, because my father passed away when I was just 1 year old.
Wow.
So I didn't have a male role model, a male adult role model in the house for the majority of my life.
Yes, sir.
So I found myself living my life based upon the expectations of other people in my house. You know, I would when I was young, I was raised by my great grandmother because my grandmother, my mother, and my aunt, they all worked. So my great grandmother used to watch old John Wayne movies, and this might be before your time, but John Wayne had the nickname of the Duke, and so he was a great actor, and he was just out there, and he was an extrovert. He did all these things, and my great grandmother saw a little bit of John Wayne in me.
Wow.
At a young age, so she called me Duke.
Okay.
Fast forward, my aunt, she went to law school, and so she's a lawyer, and I was getting great grades in school. I was always in the top of my class in grammar school and high school, and so she was like, baby, you gonna be the next Thurgood Marshall,
Wow.
the justice of the Supreme Court, right? And so there was another expectation.
Right.
And then my grandmother, you know, she saw that I was always outgoing, and I was always doing these things. So she felt that I was just gonna be this fantastic, phenomenal person.
Mm-hmm.
And so as I was raised with those expectations of being this great person. But then you become an adult, Q. And then you've got to find out things for yourself. You've got to realize what your own purpose and what your own dreams were. And I was so busy living up to those other expectations that other people had placed on me.
Yes, sir.
That I was handicapped.
Wow. Wow.
By other people's expectations.
Wow.
Now that's a message for somebody out there. How many of you are handicapped because you've been focusing on other people's expectations of you as opposed to the expectations you found and set for yourself?
Wow, that's good. I'm actually glad you shared that. And were you the oldest of your brothers?
And that's so funny. I wasn't the oldest. I
Wow.
was the youngest.
The youngest.
So there was the other expectations because I had two older brothers and an older sister. Okay. I was the baby. I was the one who was in the top of my class. They had never seen that. I was the one who graduated from high school. Well, everybody else graduated from high school, but I was the one who went on to college and graduated from college.
Wow.
But because of the fact that all these expectations had been placed on me from a young age, I felt like I would have been a failure if I didn't do these things.
Wow.
And so I graduated from college. I was the first of the four children in my household to graduate from college. And so the expectations became even higher at that point because, you know, the American dream says you graduate from college, you get a good paying job, you get married, 2.5 kids, the house and the garage. So there's all those other innate expectations that was placed upon me because I graduated from college and because I was the first to graduate from college. So normally when you graduate, you start finding your own path. You start blazing your own trail. Yeah. But I was still stuck by the perceptions of other people's expectations on me, and I got stuck. Wow. And Q, I remember one night when I had my good job and I was living in my nice house, and I was married, didn't have the 2.5 kids yet, but I remember standing outside in my backyard saying to God, God, give me a word that would change my current situation, because I was stuck. Nothing was going right, even though other people's perceptions made it look like I had it going on.
Wow.
I had it going on, Q.
It was an internal battle.
It was an internal battle. It was a battle with myself, because when we're born, Q, we're born with something inside of us, locked deep down inside by God, and that's called purpose. But God doesn't tell us what that purpose is when we're born. He tucks it deep down inside. Because Q, if he were to tell us when we were born what our purpose was, many of us would never walk in that purpose.
Wow.
You know why?
Why is that?
Because we can't get out of our own way.
Wow.
If you knew what your purpose was from the very beginning and you didn't like that purpose, because Q, everybody's purpose is not to be rich. Everybody's purpose is not to live an abundant life. Everybody's purpose is not to be on TV, on the Enlightened Society show. That is not everybody's purpose. Somebody's purpose is to be a servant. Somebody's purpose is to be homeless so that they can tell a story to those who don't know what homeless is all about. Somebody's story is to go through a life-threatening illness so that some scientists can learn how to resolve that illness.
Wow.
But if you knew that at the very beginning, you wouldn't be able to get out of your own way.
Wow.
So he plants stuff deep down inside of us, and he gives us experiences in our life. You know, there's a saying that if you go through it, you grow through it. But the go is there for a reason. You got to go through it first. Many of us don't grow into our purpose because we've never gone through anything.
Wow. You
know, the proverbial silver spoon in your mouth, if everything is given to you, then there is no growth. There's only growth in the going. You know, they say there's no testimony without a test. There's no message without a mess. It goes together. You got to be able to have all those things. And just so like what I'm saying to you right now, I can't be living the unstoppable life right now if I wasn't stuck at some point in my life before.
Wow.
Does that make sense?
That does make sense. And I want to ask you, so after you asked God, you know, what is my purpose? Like, what was the message that you heard?
He gave me one word. Unstoppable.
Wow.
And that's a powerful word when you think about it, because the definition of unstoppable is just three other words. Unable to be stopped.
Wow.
That's it. And the able is at the end of the word for a reason, because Q, we all have ability. It's just what we do with that ability. You have the ability to be stopped, or you have the ability to be unstoppable. The choice is yours.
Wow.
See, there's a lot of things that we go through in life that will stop us. And they are placed in our life intended specifically to stop us, to test our mettle, to test our resolve, to see if we have what it takes to really walk in that purpose that was placed deep inside of us.
Wow.
He doesn't give it to you at the beginning because he wants to make sure that you are worthy of the purpose that you were created for, that you were intended to live. You know, if somebody gave you, it's tearing up right now, if somebody gave you $1 million.
Pretty intense.
Pretty intense. If somebody gave you $1 million before you were ready for the $1 million, what would happen to the $1 million?
It'd be gone within a day.
It'd be gone within a day, probably within a couple of hours. But when they give you money management skills, when they give you financial literacy skills, when they give you the opportunity to be a 100-year, then a 1,000-aire, then 100,000-aire, before you become a millionaire, then you have progressed to the point where now you can handle what it is that was given to you. Wow. Another word for that is stewardship. And a lot of people want to be stewards, but they don't know how to be stewards. And God is not going to let you have stewardship over a lot if you can't handle the little first.
Right.
And God didn't allow me to be unstoppable like I am today back then, because there was still some growing that I had to go through.
Wow. And that's amazing. And, you speak about unstoppable, and you have, books that you've written. So, and I know writing a book is a very tough process.
Yes.
Can you walk me through, the process of writing the book?
Yes. Well, the first book I wrote, The Baby, is You Are Unstoppable, the 11 Key Attributes to Living an Unstoppable Life. And Q, this was never intended to be a book.
Wow.
This came after I had that backyard moment with God, and he gave me that word. And I was like, wow, well, what does that mean, God? What are you trying to say to me with that word? And so I just started journaling about unstoppable.
Wow.
And as I journaled in different places, I journaled today, and then I'd put the journal down, and then a couple of days later I'd pick it up and I'd put it down, and then a week would go by and I'd put it down, and never really put the focus into it.
Wow.
But what I found out is each time I did journal about it, there were some very profound things that I found. And I ended up using each one of the letters in the word unstoppable to speak to my situation at that time. I was afraid of failing in the very beginning. So the U in unstoppable is unwilling to fail. See, I had to get over that fear. I had to be willing to go through some failure, because before you can have success, you've got to have some failure. It's part of the equation. It's part of the process.
Wow.
And the people who are true successes are the people who are unwilling to give up, no matter if they fail and fail and fail again.
Wow.
So I had to learn that word. The S in unstoppable stands for seeking counsel from others.
Okay.
Because I had to recognize that there was a lot of things that I didn't know, and there was a lot of things I didn't know, Q. But there are people out there who are more successful than you and I,
Yes, sir.
that know those things, and they can see those things in me, and they can probably see those things in you long before you see it.
Wow.
And so I had to learn how to seek the counsel of others, especially those who were at the place that I was trying to get to.
Yes, sir.
Things that was holding me back, one of the things that was keeping me stuck is that I didn't know what I didn't know. And so by seeking the counsel of those people who do know, I was able to move from being stuck on that journey towards being unstoppable. And each one of the letters in the word unstoppable has a different meaning, has a different mantra, has a different skill set that I had to learn. And then ultimately I turned it into a book so other people could learn how to do it as well. But I still wasn't thinking about it being a book, Q. It was still just my journal. And then I just had the opportunity through social media to meet other people. And I met this other brilliant author coach by the name of Johnny Mack. He calls himself Mr. Magnificent out of Dallas, Texas. And I was just sharing with him, we were talking about another project, and I was just sharing with him what I had been going through in the same word about unstoppable. And he just says to me, man, that's something that you shouldn't be keeping to yourself.
Wow.
There's a lot of people in the world that are stuck who are looking to be unstoppable.
Wow.
And I said, wow, really? Who would want to hear what I had to say? I'm just a young man, 5'3", from the south side of Chicago. Nobody knows me. I'm not Tony Robbins. I'm not Les Brown. I'm not those big hitters. I don't know how to write a book. And he said, let me help you.
Wow.
And Q, I played around with this journal for 2 years. 2 years.
Years.
And then I got with him, and then within 6 months, I had a book, I had a manuscript, a book cover, a book, and I was now sharing that information with the world.
Wow.
That's how quick it can turn around. And 4 years later, I am the author of 4 books, and I have taught people how to write their own books. One of the books, A Father's Guide to Embracing and Enjoying a Special Needs Child, Thoroughly Immersed, I helped a father of a child who has autism. I helped him write his book from a father's perspective.
Wow.
But I would have never been able to help somebody else write their book. I never would have been able to be an author of 4 books. I never would have been able to write that first book if I didn't seek the counsel of that book coach, Johnny Mack, to help me go from unstuck to being unstoppable.
Wow. And actually, you just bring me to a really interesting point because, you have these books, you've grown, you've developed.
Yes.
And, as we were speaking before, you still have, a job that you do as well, as a 9 to 5. Some
Right.
people would say you still have a job. And what my question is, or maybe not even question, but statement is that, you have all these things going for you, yet, like, what are you really in it for? Because, some people will say, okay, well, I have all these books, I have, all of these workshops, I give all of these speeches, and I still don't have $1 million. Like, what is going on? Or are you saying, you know what, it's not about that. It's more so just about me being able to do what I want to do. Like, what's in it for you?
Right.
Being able to do all of this.
I'm so glad you asked that question because, again, as I said to you, your purpose may not be that $1 million moneymaker. The problem is that people spend so much time thinking their purpose is to chase money. No, that's not it. When you follow your purpose, you'll find that the money will start chasing you.
Wow.
Let me say that again. When you follow your purpose, you will begin to find that the money will start chasing you.
Wow.
Before I followed my purpose, I didn't have a book. After I followed my purpose, I had a book, and the book continues to bring me revenue. Money's now coming to me as opposed to me looking for money. Before I had the book and before I followed my purpose, I was struggling from this 9 to 5, from that 9 to 5. I wasn't happy in what I was doing. I actually got fired from one job and got laid off from another job, and it didn't bother me except for the fact that I lost the income. But from a spiritual and from a personal point of view, it didn't bother me because it wasn't what I wanted to do anyway.
I completely understand. I just went through that. I completely understand what you're saying.
And it's actually, it was in 2009 when I got let go from my last job that I recognized that I needed to be doing something different. And that's when I found out about life coaching. Now, Q, I had been giving people advice. I'd been listening to people. People had told me that I give them great information and I have compassion. And I'd been doing that for most of my adult life. But I didn't know what the term was for what that was.
Wow.
I didn't know what that career path was. But it was after I stopped focusing on the things that I didn't want to do and started focusing on the things that I did want to do that the universe brought that information to me. And so now I am a certified life accountability coach. I help you create your vision, implement your vision, and Q, more importantly, I hold you accountable to living the life that you were intended to live.
Wow.
Now, I didn't say the life you want to live, the life that you were intended to live. Because many times people come to me for coaching and they want to do this thing. But as we go through the coaching and as we peel back the layers of what they're doing and why they're doing it, they tend to find out that what they want to do isn't what they were created to do.
Wow.
Isn't what they were intended to do. And that's why they can't find success in what they want to do. I had a client just the other day that did a discovery call with me, and she's doing a whole lot of different things but not having success with any of them.
Wow.
And I said, well, you know what, take a minute to look at the mirror and read back to yourself all the things that you tell other people that you want to do. And if you can look in the mirror and read back those things and see the person in the mirror that you're talking about, then you're on the right path. But if you look in the mirror and you look at the things that you're telling people that you are, and it doesn't seem real to you, it doesn't seem authentic to you, it doesn't seem purposeful to you, then that's when you realize that, in the words of one of my fellow speakers, Sakoni Prince, you might be climbing the wrong mountain.
Wow.
And Q, there's nothing wrong, there's nothing so bad as when you climb the wrong mountain. You climb up these peaks, you go through the struggles, you go through the toils, you go through the tribulations to get to the top, and you look over the mountain and you see that what you wanted and what you were intended to do is on the other mountain.
Oh my God. Oh my God. And that's just, that's very interesting because, it happens.
Yes.
It actually happens. Like, sometimes you may be climbing up the wrong mountain. And I also want to ask you another question because, what we're talking about is just so interesting.
Good.
Like, is there a certain point that, when you are following your purpose, that you begin to feel a certain sense of fulfillment, and you don't have to worry about, okay, when is the money coming in, or how much will this make me, but you'll just be satisfied with what you're doing?
Yes, I believe so. And I'm not going to say to you that it's going to happen instantaneously, because then I'd be lying. I'm not going to say to you that it's going to happen in the first month, first 6 months, first 6 years. But here's the one thing I know. Persistent patience pays off. Let me say that again. Persistent patience pays off. What you're doing right now with your YouTube channel, phenomenal, great. Now, you may find that it's not giving you the revenue that you're looking for. You may find that it's not giving you the followers that you're looking for. You may not find it's not giving you the exposure that you're looking for.
Not yet.
But those are the two famous words, not yet.
Yes, sir.
You see, when we feel that we're not getting what we want to get, we have that innate desire, that calling to just quit. But what I want to say to you today is that be persistent. The race is not given to the swift, it's given to the one who endures. You got to go through some things. Like I said earlier, you got to go through some things to grow through some things. There's going to be some things you found out on your first video. On your 10th video, you'll never do again, because now you've grown through some things. There's going to be some things you're going to find on your 100th video that you did on your 10th video that you'll never do again, because now you've grown to a different level.
Wow.
You'll find that after you've done 200 videos, that the people that you talk to in the first 10 videos are not the type of people that you want to talk to anymore, because you've grown.
Wow.
But here's the one thing I said in all of those scenarios. You did the next video, and the next video, and the next video, and the next video. There's a cleaning product. You might have heard of it, but it's a degreaser, and people use it all over the globe right now. But the version that these people are using is a version that took a long time to create. See, these chemists who created this degreaser, the first time they did it, they didn't like it. The second time they did it, it didn't do what it was supposed to do. The third time they did it, it didn't do what it was supposed to. But they didn't stop after those 3 trials. They didn't stop after 100 trials. They didn't even stop Q after 300 trials. They didn't stop after 400 trials. They did it again, 401. They did it again, 402. They did it again, 403. They did it again, 404. And they still didn't stop because it wasn't right. After the 405th try, somebody would have gave up. But they didn't, Q. They did 406. They even did 407. And they even did 408. And by now, surely, you're going to give up. Because after 408 trials of anything not happening right, wouldn't you give up?
No.
You wouldn't give up. I'm glad you said that. Because they did it a 409th time. And it was a success. Do you know what the name of that cleaner is, that degreaser that is used all around the world right now?
Is it Ajax?
No.
What is it?
Formula 409.
Wow. Okay. And I'm familiar
Simple
with
as that. And you're familiar with that. But nobody knew that the reason they called it Formula 409 is because that is the 409th time that they tried to get it right.
Wow. That's I've never heard of that. That's very interesting.
See, you've got to be persistent, and you've got to be patient. You can't give up after the 4th try. You can't even give up after the 400th try if you know that you know that you know that you know that you're walking in your purpose. Don't get stuck. Be unstoppable. They were unstoppable. They knew without a shadow of a doubt that no matter how many times it took them to get it right, that they were on the right track.
Wow.
See, because you're on the right track doesn't mean you're always going to get it right. Because you're on the right track doesn't mean you're always going to come in first. Right. Sometimes you got to get back out on that same track and run it again.
Wow.
Over and over and over again. But Q, persistent patience eventually pays off.
Mr. Leftridge, that was amazing. I just want to thank you for your time so much. I greatly appreciate it. Once again, Unstoppable Coaching.
UnstabableCoaching.com is where you can go and get all that great information. If you go sign up for my mailing list, you'll get a free I Am Unstoppable bracelet, so that every time you look at your arm, every time you're feeling stuck, you can just look down and say to yourself, I am unstoppable.
Wow.
It's a wonderful thing.
Thank you guys for watching.
Thank you.